Alright, so we're going to talk about my opinion on the best Catalyst build for Pip, and it's just in my opinion what's going to be his most effective build for, and I mostly play rank mode, so if you want to get competitive, I feel this is just the most effective one. So my only 5 is for Argument, and now I've always said Argument's a little bit too, overpowered in the first round. This is really, when they only have cauterized 3, this Argument is really, it's a very underestimatable card, if that's a word. But most of this video is going to be regarding this card right here, Argument. And I really want to explain it just in as from its worst to best, just as in the last video. I made it last video, but I feel that old build, it was an old build, and this is just more up to date and more revolves around the cooldown of the flask compared to the healing part. So Argument, when you subtract the Catalyst build, and it's just 50% of the base damage, because you only get the lifesteal of Argument as the enemy is slowed, which is by default 2.5 seconds. You add Catalyst, it makes it to 3, but I'm gonna just explain it in detail a little bit, so just bear with me. Without the Catalyst build, just by whatever other legendary there is or talent, without Catalyst, 50% of 60 is about 300. So, and you could get about 2 shots in 2.5 seconds. So always remember that it's not just one shot of the lifesteal of 50%. No, in 2.5 seconds, while the enemy is slowed, you can get 2 shots off. So always just always keep those in consideration. Land those 2 shots. Those are the most important shots you have to land with this build. The first 2. Otherwise, this is a worthless build for you. So you get 2 of those off, 600. Not good. Now the way I improve this build isn't just by this build and then I run into a game, I'm a god. No, it's I go into the game and I immediately grab lifesteal number 1. Of course, some people will say, well, that's pretty stupid. What about cauterize, high level, other things? For me, for this build, I just go for the lifesteal one and just make the build immediately stronger. So let's continue on. So we factor in lifesteal tier number 1 of 60% of 600. So now we got 360 times 2. It's a good 600 plus. Not good enough. Let's say we want to do lifesteal 2, lifesteal tier 2. We buy that 70% of 600 for 20. So that's 840 if we get the 2 shots. 840, health back. Now when you factor in cauterize, this healing is going to get reduced, but I'm just generally stating, if they don't have cauterize, they have 0 way of reducing your healing. These are the numbers you're generally going to get. Not generally, but you are going to get. So 70% of 600, 420, you hit the 2 shots, that's about 840. So you get 840 back. Not good enough. So now let's go to the Catalyst legendary, where you factor that in, which is the extra bonus damage, which is let's see, I think it's 40%, but the damage is 240. That's the increase. So right here, the Catalyst build, you get the increase of 0.5 seconds in the slow. So you could potentially, I'm not sure, but potentially you can get 3 shots off. I wouldn't count on it. Don't bet on it. I've never really considered even looking for it. I just consider the 2 shots, and I bounce out. That's it. If I don't land 2 shots, I'm out. The 40, so 3 increased 0.5 seconds, and the 40% damage to your weapon shots. Of course, after you hit them with the flask, and that 40% is 240 damage, making your new damage after you hit him with the flask 840. So now let's do the math now. So the Argument, so now after you hit him with the flask, the new damage for 3 seconds is now 840. So with the Argument card at 5, 50% lifesteal, 50% of 840, 420. So right there, with the Argument card, with Catalyst build, not the Catalyst build, it's not a, but the Catalyst legendary or the Catalyst talent, whatever you want to call it, the worst of of this area is the best without Catalyst, if that makes sense. So let's continue on. So that's 50%. If you hit 2 shots, now don't count on 3. I'm not going to do the math for 3 because I don't want to get your hopes up or even my hopes up. I just go for the 2 shots and that's it. Don't go for 3. That's a little bit too arrogant. This build is a very arrogant build, of course. It's more of a run and gun, it's what I call like a bad mood build, But at the same time, it is effective if you can play Pip, if you're a good cover fighter. So let's continue on. So we want to make that better. Again, how do I make it better? With the in-game lifesteal, with the in-game credits as you're playing the game. So we buy a lifesteal number 1. We we get that to 60%. So 60% of 840 now becomes 504. You land that within the 30 seconds. You get 1008, and that's if you land the 2 shots. If you land one of those shots, it's 504. That's still good, but you always got to consider landing the 2 shots because you're going to be engaging one-on-one. This is because this, of course, is an aggressive build, and that 500, even if you don't land the second shot, that 500 is almost like, a 15 to 20% damage reduction. That's very, very good. You land the 2 shots, that's 1000. Okay, that's very good. It helps the very aggressive pips. So now let's increase that again to the lifesteal number 2. Now for me, as I'm playing the game, I fill them out. So sometimes I won't buy lifesteal 1, then wait lifesteal 2. Sometimes I'll just get lifesteal 1, rest on that for the game, 2 rounds, get cauterized run, get some resilience if I need it. I still be well-rounded with my selection of in-game perks. So still be use your own experience. But if you want to take it to the next level, let's take it to the next level, which I do typically. So lifesteal tier number 2, which is 70% of 840, now becomes so 70% of 840 now becomes 588. So you land that twice, that becomes 1170. So that's very, very, very good. That's basically, it's not that much better than, lifesteal number 1. So I guess you could say, if you grab lifesteal number 2, I guess you can argue that's being a little bit greedy because it's not that much of a boost. Lifesteal number 1, the 60%, is the best option. I typically sometimes would get 2, but that's only if I have the points and I've already got cauterized 3. I already got, other things that make, you a more effective player. But yeah, once you, as a pit player, want to play Catalyst, you got the 50% argument card. Don't just stay on that. That's not good enough, because what is that again? If you hit him with the flask, that gives you the bonus damage of 240, making your new damage 840 with the argument card 50%, 420, and so totaled out like a 840. It's just not good enough. It's not impactful enough with the damage some of these guys have, like Andrew, Tyra. There's a lot of damage that could kill you just like that. So increase that with the in-game lifesteal and get it to 60% of 840 to 504. So when you hit him with 2 shots while they're slowed, you get a good 1000 health back, which, as you're getting shot, is really going to help you in those 1v1s. Is it going to help the lowest low player? Well, no, because you don't really know how to aim. You don't really know how to cover fighter. Not cover fighter, but, be a cover, hide behind cover and just, dart in and out. Look at your opponent, shoot, then go back behind cover, look back, and, it's poking. That's the term. It's called poking, to flinch them out and keep poking and be a mosquito and not just stand still and die. So that's pretty much why I really love argument. Now, if we're going to talk about the other, if I have enough time, I don't know how much time I spent talking about just one card, but that's my 5 argument. That's why I really love that card. Now I have an old build. My old build, which I still use sometimes when I'm really in like just like, man, I don't want to even help my team, F them, whatever. Well, not really like that, but you know what I'm saying. I do have a Moxie build. The old one was a weird Moxie build. Where oh, I think I deleted it, but it did. I just didn't factor in side tanks. Side tanks is really underestimatable, if that's a word. When you can get Chronos #1 combined with a #4 side tanks, the catalyst just becomes so much better. But we're not talking about that yet. We're talking about the Moxie. I did have on this Moxie, it's good, but I found personally this build up here, when you remove Moxie and you become a little bit more passive, but you add side tanks #4, this 2.4 seconds combined with a single Chronos, really it almost makes it to like a 5-second cooldown. And so if you're a very evasive pip and you can move around and last for 5 seconds, lasting for 8 seconds is too long, it's too much to ask for. But a good quality pit player, a good quality cover fighter player can last that 5 seconds and get the flash back. And even if you don't have a potion, you have that life steal, which is very impactful. Don't underestimate the life. Use the life steal argument as a secondary potion. You have your potion, you use it, it's on cooldown, but you have the flask with argument. So, and as long as you're a skilled shooter and you're good with pip, and you hit him with the flask and you could land those 2 shots within the time limit, you're gonna get some health back. Okay, now of course this is countered by a good, cauterize 3, but just fall back and shoot. Move, retreat and shoot, and you can still this argument card really, really helps. And I was a big believer in Moxie, but just trying out side tanks, this is a really good card. Now, so yeah, those are my first 2. Let's talk about medicinal excellence. Of course, when you get it to #3, I've said before, #4's worthless, #5's too worthless, #3's perfect. I've had areas where I was like, I'm not even gonna land this one, but I hit him. And #3, for me, it's good enough. Of course you can, if you want, you can do it more. That's your choice. But for me, in my experience, 3 is perfect. It's perfect. I like it. It's perfect. So let's talk about the next one, Reload. I would love this to be higher. 2 is really good. I can see, pips already been nerfed. I mean, so like Shrewd Move, my last card, that was nerfed. It used to be it used to go from 10% to 20 to 30 to 40, maxing out at 40. They reduced it by 2%, and I was like, what the hell? As a pit main, I noticed it the first day. I was like, oh hey, and I stopped playing him. I was pissed. I think they did the same to Reload. I think they did the same to I forget, but I do recall they did it to Shrewd Move. I can see Reload being nerfed, a little bit more. When you get it to a 2, that's 1 second, and it's for each ally hit. So this is a very good card. I could see it being, like a point, how it's like 0.02, no, it's 0.25, and then 0.50, then 0.75, then it's a full second. I could see this becoming like that. But as it stands, all I need is 2 points to get it to 1 second, and then if I hit 2 guys, that's 2 seconds off. So that's very good. Elimination, of course. Shrewd Move. Shrewd Move is always one of my favorite cards. Always. Just a simple, easy. The ease of getting an elimination is, it's a very good, because that's just an assist. It's not getting a kill and killing somebody. Elimination is just an assist, and 8%. That's very good. An 8% cooldown. Very, very good. Don't underestimate it. So I don't know how much time we have left, but I do kind of want to show the side tanks, just to show that. So let's go to the without, something just default. Blah 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 blah. So this doesn't have a side tanks, does it? Hopefully, well, if this video ends, that's my build. Thanks for watching. Blah blah blah. So cool. So